draw in.
I think that you're probably right at this point. Looking at this match, though, what we have in front of us, Jack Fogle on our right with Esper Deathblade, and Adam Turk on the left with Omnitel.
We haven't seen Omnitel on camera yet. Omnitel, of course, an Omniscience combo deck that looks to put in Emrakul the Eon's Torn, or Gristlebrand, or go off with Burning Wish combo. And if that arises, we will explain how that works for you. Jack is going to win the die roll, and he's going to lead off with Deathrite Shaman, Adam Turk with Ponder off of a volcanic island. Doesn't really give away anything to Jack yet.
Did I overhear you and Osip talking earlier about Deathrite Shaman in the last match?
Yes.
It sounded to me like you were one of the real breakouts from Return to Ravnica block when it comes to Legacy. It's really hard to get a card to have enough power to find its way into Legacy. I mean, what you're fighting against is the best of the best for the last almost 20 years.
Absolutely. Return to Ravnica actually was a little bit of a surprising success in Legacy, I think, to a lot of people. When you looked at the set at first glance, a lot of the cards that looked great for Standard didn't look to translate to Legacy. Things like Jace, Architect of Thought, right when the set first came out. And so people sort of undervalued the set at first, but then they saw the potential of the cycle of uncounterable spells, particularly Abrupt Decay, and then Deathrite Shaman had a breakout success about 2 weeks after Return to Ravnica became legal, proving its worth pretty much immediately, and has maintained its place in the metagame and Legacy ever since.
Okay, Jack Fogle here fetches, gets an Underground Sea, then removes the fetch land from his graveyard to create another mana, goes and casts this Stoneforge Mystic with 1 mana open, meaning that he's not sure what he's playing against. A Daze will not stop this Mystic. We do see, however, Force of Will tossing a Daze used to stop the Mystic. Jack Fogle with 1 mana open decides to let that Force of Will stop his Stoneforge, and right now, shuffling still from, I guess, that fetch land. I think he was planning on doing a shortcut with the double search. Might as well just save some time.
Yep. And now he has a Thoughtseize. Yeah, might have wanted to do the Thoughtseize first, although I guess it wouldn't have mattered because multiple Dazes as well as Force of Will are going to put a hamper on that. Adam Turk still not really revealing what he's playing. He could very well just be playing a Rug Delver deck, or a combo deck of some sort. So, Jack Fogle, the number of wastelands in Jack Fogle's deck is 2, which is actually 1 less than a lot of these Esper Deathblade decks are playing. Jack Fogle actually has a little bit of a different build. He has Liliana of the Veil, I believe. 2 of in the main deck. BBD was talking about how he didn't really like Liliana, but it's been working out for Jack so far.
Now we see a second Deathrite come down, and this Deathrite, since Adam is not 100% revealing what he's playing here, the cards that he's showing could be Sneak and Show or any of the variants thereof. It could be Rug Delver, it could be Red-Blue Delver. This Deathrite Shaman can just be used to nibble away at life, and if it was, say, Red-Blue Delver, then he's able to kind of limit the power of a Snapcaster Mage. Now, in the case where Adam Turk here is actually playing Sneak and Show, we basically got a Grim Lavamancer style effect, pinging away at the life, putting on some kind of a clock while leaving all the mana open.
Yeah, Jack doesn't really have any other options. As you can see, he has 2 lands in his hand. So not a great spot, although Adam does not look to have another land in his hand.
The main phase Brainstorm looking for help. If he doesn't find it, he is in real trouble.
And it doesn't look like he found it
If he didn't find it, he's going to have to put 2 cards back that he'll have to draw through before he can even find a new card.
Didn't really have a choice but to do it there, and it's not looking great for Adam Turk. We're being told by the director, who's done a little bit of research for us, Adam Turk has 2 Legacy top 4s, right?
Has a top 4
and 2 top 16s. Sorry, that was a lot of numbers on the screen that I'm just a dummy.
Now we are giving up the ghost, so to speak. City of Traders, the land that was found.
That pretty much gives it away.
We know what we're playing against, and, well, we already knew, but now Jack knows what he's playing against.
Yeah, it's a show and tell deck of some kind. Could be Hive Mind, could be Omnitel, could be Sneak and Show.
And Jack draws another land, and it's a Caracas, I believe. And if
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I think that you keep that one in your hand for the show and tell.
Well, I mean, the danger that could possibly happen is if this is a sneak deck, that a Lotus Petal plus a red source could mean that he would get eaten up by an Emrakul.
Yes. Now, Adam missed a land drop, I think.
No, he laid land there.
He laid land there?
Yeah, he laid that City of Traders.
I think that the Lotus Petal would have come into play already. It's debatable, but I think that keeping the Caracas in his hand to be able to put in off of a show and tell as a surprise value, which Adam does have the show and tell in his hand. He does not have anything to put in off of it yet.
Ponder. Now, one of the things that Jack did that was really great here, he had 3 land in his hand. He's laid a land every turn so far this game, and what he's done this turn is not lay a land, trying to signal, hey, I've got 3 spells in my hand.
Yeah, and he also attacked with the 1 Deathrite Shaman as opposed to attacking with both. That's got to put a question mark in Adam Turk's mind, what Jack could possibly have here. Possibly representing Notion Thief. We've heard a lot of talk in the room of playing a Notion Thief in response to an Enter the Infinite. It's pretty much one of the god draws that you can do with Notion Thief. And I think that Jack just wants to leave himself with as many options and put as many questions into Adam Turk's mind as possible. Does Jack have Vendilion Click? Does Jack have Notion Thief? Does he have counterspells? And so I think that I think that attacking with 1 Deathrite Shaman and leaving the other one back, plus his mana, is certainly just leaving all of the options open. We find a 3rd Deathrite Shaman off the top for Jack Fogle.
One of the things that Jack has done with his previous play is communicate, I have 3 spells in my hand. Now, let's say that the rest of this game he lays a land every turn. Adam is still going to think there's 3 spells in Jack's hand.
Yeah. I think that he has to play a land here. Because he's going to have, he wants to cast the 1 Deathrite Shaman to put Adam on a shorter clock, and he also wants to make sure that he can activate both of his Deathrite Shamans, and there is a basic Plains in play. So I think that he has to play out a 3rd black source in order to do that. But we have to see if Jack wants to be able to activate all of those Deathrite Shamans. I'm not sure it actually accelerates the clock any. Jack Fogle's stats, for those of you playing along at home. He has a Legacy Open win. He has 1 top 4 in a Standard Open. He also has an additional top 8 and an additional top 16 in a Standard Open, in addition to his Draft Open win. So a multiple format all-star is Jack Fogle.
If you were like me, those last 20 seconds while Ruben was going over Jack's stats, watching Jack's face, just the control he showed, giving away absolutely nothing and projecting some real quiet strength. Adam Turk going for it looks like. We don't know what's in Adam Turk's hand currently. He loses his City of Traders to a polluted Delta, and we're going to see what he's going to pull the trigger on. A show and tell would be a very solid card here. Unbeknownst to him, though, Caracas waits in the wing.
Yep. So depending on what Adam Turk ended up finding to put into play with that show and tell, there are 4 Omniscience, but there are also 4 legendary creatures that we could be trying to put into play here. It looks like it's the Omniscience, though. Nope, Ponder.
Ponder. Now, he is still floating mana right now.
Yep, he's still floating 2 colorless. Ponder is going to try and find something to put into play. It looks like he found the Omniscience.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan, here in the booth with the one, the only Ruben Bressler. This is StarCityGames.com's Open Series. We're SCG Live here in Nashville, Tennessee. The final round of Swiss before we drop down to 8 players remaining. 201 players started, 8 players will continue after this round, and there can only be 1 in the end.
That's right, and first of all, it's a good thing that there's only 1 of me. It would be very awkward if there were more. But we have Adam Turk on the left here, who's currently making a decision as to how he wants to proceed. He has a couple counter spells in his hand to be able to protect the show and tell that he's hoping to play, but once he puts the Omniscience into play, I'm not sure how much action he has after that, and so it could be a little bit awkward. He's going to be easily able to resolve this show and tell, mostly because Jack has nothing in his hands, but once the Omniscience comes into play, that's about it. He's going to have to just pretty much say go, unless he has a brainstorm that I missed. So Adam is instead just going to shuffle and probably is looking for one of his legendary creatures here. Possibly looking for a way to take care of these Deathrite Shamans that he's facing down, which represent a 2-turn clock, I believe. So he's going to need to find Burning Wish, I think.
Emrakul. Wow, that is unfortunately for Adam, very appealing lie.
Yes. So, but even if he put in Emrakul, he would just be dead because of 2 Deathrite activations plus 3 Deathrite activations on the next turn is just going to be too much. Adam needs to find a Burning Wish.
Now, right now, Jack Fogle is facing down 4 damage from Deathrite Shamans. Now, after that, there will be 1 instant or sorcery left in Adam's graveyard. I can't tell because of the glare how many are left in Jack's graveyard, but I think it's sufficient.
It looks like...
And Adam agrees,
yep.
Scoops it on up, and we go to game 2.
Yep, it looked like there was just enough to knock Adam down to 1, and then he could have attacked with the 1/2. Should he need to, because there were no more instants and sorceries to eat in his graveyard. So we're going to move on to the sideboards here. What do you think?
Sideboards, I haven't looked at Adam Turk's sideboard, but Jack Fogle's sideboard looks incredible. I see Counterspell, Vendilion Click, 2 Duress, a Snapcaster Mage, 3 Surgical Extraction, and 3 Force of Will.
Wow.
The weakest of those in this matchup is Surgical Extraction, and even that is still useful. One of the things that you can do with this is because of the cards like Duress, if you pop off, let's say, a Show and Tell, or let's say, you know, a Omniscience, you can get rid of them all for good.
Absolutely. Now, luckily for Adam, he's got a little bit of a varied angle of attack. If the Omniscience, which is enemy number 1, gets taken out, he can still theoretically win the game with a Gristlebrand or an Emrakul by themselves. Adam has the Wish sideboard. Burning Wish helps you win off of Omniscience by going and get the combo. The combo is Petals of Insight, which is a card from Kamigawa block that we're going to bring up for you. It was pretty much a value card for 5 mana. There it is. It's a Sorcery Arcane, and I'll let you read that. The key phrase there, though, is that if you choose to not put them in your hand, if it says otherwise draw 3 cards. But if you don't draw 3 cards, you return the petals to your hand. And that allows you to keep casting Petals of Insight over and over and over again until you find another Burning Wish, getting sufficient amount of Storm to be able to wish for Grape Shot and kill your opponent with that combo. And there's Burning Wish, part of the Judgment Wish cycle. There's also a copy of a Judge Foil Burning Wish, as well as a Judgment Foil Burning Wish. And so the one that we saw there was from Judgment. The rest of Adam's sideboard, a lot of the cards are for very specific matchups that he can wish for. Things like Time of Need to go find an Emrakul. He can also go and get a Show and Tell. The cards that are not part of the Wish package are 3 Red Elemental Blast, which he could theoretically bring in to be able to fight Counterspell Wars. 2 Vendilion Clicks, which are chiefly a way to fight other combo decks, I would imagine, but also can fight things like Nimble Mongoose on an angle of attack that this deck typically doesn't have. 2 Stifles, which will serve him very well against Ad Nauseam Tendrils should he move on to the top 8. He also has an extra Caracas and a Pithing Needle, if he wants either of those.
One of the things that are very likely to happen, he has very good reason to suspect that his opponent, if he hasn't already seen his opponent play or scouted his opponent, just with what his opponent showed, actually incorrect, he knows, because he saw a Stoneforge Mystic, he knows that this is a Stoneforge Mystic deck. Vendilion Click almost certainly is going to come in as a way to fight against the Stoneforge Mystic's activated ability.
Absolutely.
And then the other issue here, Red Elemental Blast, very powerful against a lot of the cards in Jack Fogle's deck. We're talking about a deck that after sideboard has access to Counter, Force of Will, Vendilion Click of his own, Stoneforge Mystics, Jace. Red Elemental Blast, one of the most powerful sideboard cards. Some argue the most powerful sideboard card of all time.
Yeah, being able to destroy a Jace the Mind Sculptor for 1 mana, being able to counter any counterspell for 1 mana, particularly important for the combo decks. It's also very good in the tempo decks like Rug, but especially for the one-hit kill combo decks like Omnitel. It shines in those matchups.
Now, he might not know that Jack Fogle has access to Caracas, but the Caracas in his sideboard for Adam Turk is basically there both as a specialized wasteland that he can use against another Caracas, but also it has utility against various legends that might happen. So, for example, let's say that there's a Gaddock Teague, or Gaddock Teague wouldn't be hurt too badly, except for it stops the Omniscience.
Right.
A card like Thalia can be popped up, or because Vendilion Click is a legend, you can get the click back to hand, click back to hand, endlessly clicking an opponent for not very much mana.
Yeah, Caracas is pretty much a one-of standard card in the Esper Deathblade decks these days. I think that he can fairly safely assume that Jack has one, and so the Vendilion Click trick is nice. Bouncing your opponent's Vendilion Click endlessly is not exactly where you want to be.
No, bouncing your own.
But bouncing your own is also not
about.
really where you want to be as a combo deck, being able to endlessly play a 3-mana spell while using another land to keep bouncing it. You'd much rather be actively winning the game.
One of the problems that ends up happening if you watched, for example, Adam Jansen's matchups in Milwaukee, is that sometimes you don't actually get to be the combo deck and you end up having to beat down with a click.
Sure. And he can certainly do that. I think that the main function of the Caracas is going to be to
kill Caracas.
Split second wasteland Jack's Caracas.
Absolutely. That's the main function, definitely.
And Adam has the one of Pithing Needle and the one of Caracas, and the two ofs of the other cards in his sideboard might look a little strange, but his deck has 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder, 4 Preordain, 1 Personal Tutor to be able to grab all of the pieces that he needs. These blue-red combo decks with all of the cantrips are not at a loss for library manipulation.
And it looks like we're deciding on our mulligans here. Jack Fogle goes down, taking a mulligan. Adam Turk keeps his hand.
Yep, Jack. One of the strengths of Jack's play, I've seen him at a lot of these, is he like you were mentioning, he just doesn't give anything away. Some players might be frustrated or give away that it was a tough decision or something like that. But if you make a face and then keep, your opponent can make certain assumptions about your hand. And so I think that one of the underappreciated skills a Magic player can have is keeping a good poker face. Poker and Magic obviously closely intertwined. Various professionals like Eric Froelich, David Williams, etc. have crossed over. Other players have crossed back over that line, such as Gabriel Nassif, being able to play both. And Magic players in Magic tournaments often lose track of themselves as other parts of the game. Bluffing and hiding bluffs is actually a very important part of the game, and Jack Fogle seems to have mastered keeping himself under control.
One of the things I was really impressed at in that game 1 was that discipline of not laying the land there. It really harkens back to this moment that was fairly mind-blowing for a lot of players who weren't really used to that higher level of play on the Pro Tour, where I believe it was Aaron Forsyth playing at either a Pro Tour or a US Nationals in a control mirror, holding back one land, or pardon me, having a hand full of land and holding back a land drop. So that he was communicating, in essence, I got all spells here, buddy. These 6 cards in my hand are all spells. And then for the rest of the game, after that one very early stumble where he didn't lay, I believe, a 3rd land, just laying a land every turn. And you know what? It bought him so much time that his opponent ended up losing because, you know what? In a long control match, lots of land is good. But that little bit, what do you say to your opponent, or what do you say to yourself when your opponent doesn't lay a land and you know their deck likes land? You say to yourself, they got spells.
Yeah, and that's a very similar situation to what happened in this match. Looks like Jack is going to mulligan again. His only land there was the Caracas, not really going to be good enough. And so he's going to go down to 5 on the draw. At least he'll be able to have an extra card, theoretically. Adam looking a little bit happier with his keep. Joking with the audience there. On Jack's side of the board, a little bit more somber. Behind Jack, you'll see Eric Rill. He also is an open competitor, regular. He's not in contention this time around, but he's one of the few that has both a standard and a legacy open win.
I mean, it's rare that you see someone smiling with their mull to 5.
Sure.
And you know, with each successive mulligan, you start having to accept worse and worse hands instead of going down yet further. I mean, who amongst us hasn't mulliganed away a 7-card hand and then a while later down the mulligan chain wished we'd kept that first hand?
Yep.
But you can't do that. You know, you have to play not for the hope and the prayer that things are going to turn out, but rather for the odds of what's going to happen. Now, we were talking earlier, Osip and I, about some creative mulliganers out there. One of the people that comes to mind most clearly is Gerard Fabiano.
Absolutely.
Who quite notoriously is loath to mulligan unless it's really, truly awful.
Yeah, I remember one of the earliest Magic memes I ever saw was a hand of nothing but forests and a Dawn Elemental, and it had Gerard Fabiano said snap keep underneath or something like that. I'm not sure if that actually happened, probably not, but very well known for that. And of course, on the flip side of that, very aggressive mulliganers. We saw one of them this morning. Ben Weinberg, I know, is one of the most aggressive mulliganers I know. Is very open to mulliganing. So,
Adam Turk opens up with Island.
not just any island.
Oh.
That's a Guru Island.
So has he taught many people how to play Magic from the mountaintop?
You know, I would hope so. The other option, of course, being that he spent, I don't know, $100 and some on a Guru Island. It's a good investment. I like that island a lot.
Preordained.
For those of you that don't know, Guru Island's tapped for 1.5 blue mana, just so you know.
One of the problems, of course, is it's very hard to find something to do for half mana.
It's really good with Condescend, basically, is the extent there. So Jack Fogle, after Adam finishes his turn with the Preordain, is going to lead with Swamp into Inquisition of Kozilek, targeting Adam Turk. Adam does not have Misdirection in his sideboard, as some Show and Tell decks do. Omnitel doesn't have a ton of spaces in their sideboard to use for things like Misdirection, so it looks like Adam is pondering whether or not to counter this with a Daze or a Force of Will.
You can see the thought he's going through here. I can't see much of Adam Turk's hand, and unfortunately Evan Irwin has not yet perfected the 3D broadcast that he's been working on.
Right.
I do see 2 Forces of Will. I think he's going to reveal the hand.
Yep, and the Inquisition can't take out Force of Will, so Adam will still be able to protect himself should Jack play a backbreaking spell. But it looks like he's not real happy about losing whatever he's about to lose. So it looks like we have a judge call possibly here. I don't know, maybe that's just Nicholas Saban peeking over the shoulder. We are going to counter this Inquisition of Kozilek with Force of Will, removing Force of Will. That should signal fairly clearly to Jack that he has a card that he wants to protect in hand, almost certainly a Show and Tell. That's another Preordain, looking possibly for a land here. Looks like to the bottom go both of those cards. Adam finds another land. There's the Volcanic Island. And he plays Mountain. That's a Guru Mountain. Not quite as expensive. Still quite expensive.
If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Ruben Bressler. Make sure that you're following at SCG Live and joining in on the conversation at hashtag SCGNASH. We definitely monitor that Twitter feed. So by way of example, no, those of you who are asking, Feline Longmore is not here in this Legacy event. The High Tide Legacy champion from not so long ago, I believe Seattle?
It was Seattle, yes.
Yeah, no, there is no Feline Longmore here.
I did see High Tide in the room earlier. I don't think that they're doing very well, but no, Feline Longmore not in the room.
And once again, welcome to all of you who have come joining us from the Pro Tour. Congratulations to Craig Wesco. Here we have not block constructed, no, the exact opposite end of the constructed format spectrum, all of the cards for the most part. We see a Dark Confidant, also known as Bob Maher, or just Bob on Jack Fogle's side of the board. Adam Turk laying a 3rd land, and let's see, what are we going to find?
Looks like he's going to try to Burning Wish here. Yep.
Leaves a blue open.
And we're going to Burning Wish. This is almost certainly going to go get Show and Tell to be able to set up next turn's Omniscience that I was able to peek out of Adam Turk's hand. There's Show and Tell. The famous art. One of the few Magic cards that has the name of the card in the art itself. I always thought that this was a quite ridiculous piece of art, but hey, the joke is not the card itself. the card itself is no laughing matter. And so Jack Fogle is able to untap, I believe.
Now, this is a dangerous moment here for Adam Turk. Jack knows that there's a show and tell there, but every turn that Adam does not pull the trigger, Dark Confidant is going to be making some real dangerous things happen. We're really in a moment of crisis between these two players. Jack double mulliganed, and so he's down on cards, and Adam has the show and tell in hand, but does he have what he needs to go and fight right into open mana?
Yeah, unfortunately for Jack, he has a Force of Will and a blue card, but the blue card was a Snapcaster Mage that he would have much rather used to flashback Inquisition of Kozilek. Unfortunately, Jack's other two cards, as is the theme so far, are lands. And so Adam
passes back. Bob says Snapcaster Mage.
And so now Jack is going to be able to flashback the Inquisition of Kozilek while also having a blue card to go along with his Force of Will. Adam Turk was not comfortable going off that turn, but again, the more turns Jack gets...
There it is, the Vendilion Click. What Adam wanted to do here is he wanted to wait to have this Vendilion Click come down and essentially do a check on Jack Fogle. See what he can do that's scary. And the other thing about it is, if Jack fights it, Jack's fight on this Vendilion Click could eat up some mana, and in so doing, end up making it that he won't have enough mana to fight against what Adam Turk might be pushing down on the table on his turn. And Jack's thinking about this.
Yeah.
Do we see a Force of Will happening? Force of Will discarding
one of the Snapcaster Mages?
Probably. Looks like it. Maybe.
Yep. This leaves Jack with 2 lands, Liliana and Snapcaster Mage in hand. Adam is thinking about whether or not he wants to remove one of his 2 Omnisciences in his hand to his own Force of Will, and he will do just that to be able to resolve the legendary...
We're going to have a response. A Snapcaster is going to be cast in response to this Vendilion Click trigger.
And so Jack is now going to play the Snapcaster Mage in response, going to target the Inquisition. He doesn't have to cast the Inquisition right away, as we're still in Jack's upkeep, so he has a draw step to be able to get to, as well as a Dark Confidant trigger, I believe.
Oh no, this is during the draw step.
I apologize. Yeah.
So
both
he's
drawn
cards are in
and
Jack's hand.
Yes.
And Adam Turk can read what's in the graveyard. He knows another Inquisition's happening. And I believe he's got an Omniscience, a Show and Tell, and
a Force
card.
Oh, not a Force anymore. I think that it's just those 2 cards.
Unfortunate situation for Adam Turk. And,
yeah, he's going to lose that.
I think he's going to target himself. I think now that there is a Snapcaster Mage... Nope, he does go for targeting you. What do you got? Liliana, 2 lands. How's it look? Should I keep it? Should I discard it? Or should I remove that Lily?
I think he's going to let him keep it. Possibly take out that Lily.
He's like, get rid of you.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
That card could take over the game, theoretically, so...
And Jack does get a draw to replace it, and it's a Duress.
So he's going to be able to take both cards out of Adam's hand, actually, this turn, with another land drop, the flashback on the Inquisition of Kozilek, and the Duress.
And he wisely goes with the card that's already known, leaving some hidden information. Show and Tell the only target, and Jack Fogle can just finish this up. Duress will take care of that Omniscience if he chooses to. He doesn't have to do it right now.
I think that Jack...
I like doing it.
I think that I would do it as well. It takes away the opportunity for Adam to just oops, I win off the top. I think that it's a pretty safe play to just take out the Omniscience here, because he'll have to search for both sides of the combo.
And he comes to agree with that exact point, and does not attack, leaving Bob to take over the game. Remember, Jack Fogle double mulliganed here, and Bob... Greatness at any cost. The Dark Confidant himself is likely to take this game away from Adam Turk.
That's right.
We're changing modes now. Adam has decided it's time to beat down.
Well, he doesn't have too many more options other than that. He's going to need to start doing something. The Dark Confidant's going to help him on his way to dealing damage. Jack falls to 12 here from the 3 from Vendilion Click and the 1 from Dark Confidant. Unfortunately, for Adam, and fortunately for Jack, he has found not only a Wasteland to take out the crucial 3rd mana from Adam Turk, but also a Deathrite Shaman to be able to start gaining back some of that life with the, I believe he does not have green mana in play currently, but he'll add to the clock, certainly, with the black activation on the Deathrite Shaman.
And we see a ponder, fishy ponder from Adam Turk. Jack at this point has drawn 3 extra cards with Dark Confidant and is up ahead of his mulligan for 2 that happened earlier.
Yep. Adam does, though, ponder into a very, very good ponder. That was land, show and tell, and preordain.
And we see Bob reveal Deathrite Shaman, and then a new card, a Tundra, joins the table.
Jack has the fetch land if he wants to try and go find the tropical island to gain back life, but I think that we're in full-on racing mode here. In terms of Jack just wants to get Adam's life total as low as possible. Adam can't afford to attack anymore.
And he does go for the block. There is the possibility, honestly, that he could hope that Dark Confidant would end up finishing Jack off if he went hyper-aggressive, but that's hoping for a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a pipe dream. I think that Adam Turk is going to be able to resolve this show and tell and put in an Omniscience.
Is that an Omniscience in his hand?
I think it is an Omniscience. I'm not entirely sure. But Jack is going to knock Adam down to 8, then attack for 2, and then activate 2 Deathrite Shamans to knock him down
to
2, and Adam will have 1 draw step to try to win. If this is an Omniscience. Now, if it's a Gristlebrand or an Emrakul, it's a completely different story.
Gristlebrand.
And it's a Gristlebrand. Interesting. Well, that helps. Attacks aren't quite so bad no more. Adam has the option to draw 7 here. I don't think that that's particularly good, facing down Deathrite Shamans.
He can certainly do it, though, next turn if this if this Dark Confidant doesn't find an answer immediately.
Oh my! Well, that's a Caracas off the top.
Look at the little smile there from Jack Fogle.
Caracas is going to be able to, and Jace could have done it.
You know, why not?
Otherwise, and so that's a rough one.
And we're going to also see Jace hit play. Look at the work Dark Confidant has done here. I mean, one of the things that we definitely talked about throughout the weekend, Dark Confidant slightly a topic of conversation because Dark Confidant himself, Bob Maher, did play this weekend at the Pro Tour Dragon's Maze.
Absolutely.
And started out really awesome with an X1-1 beginning. And so as a topic of conversation, what does Dark Confidant mean? It means get rid of me or I will take over the game. And we have seen that right here. Jack Fogle double mulliganing, but Dark Confidant just tearing this game.
And also Jace resolves just to put an exclamation point, put the nail in the coffin. Adam Turk is going to scoop it up. Jack Fogle moves on. Almost certainly. I can't imagine that any weird shenanigans will happen.
I mean, it's possible that maybe he might go into a berserker rage and attack a judge and be ejected.
Right, yeah, I would find that highly unlikely.
Well, look at the anger in his face.
Of course,
you know,
he's a glass case of emotion, I can tell.
Yeah.
But I think